There's a story in Louisville, Kentucky. The headline is Police Caretaker Hit Child Because She Wouldn't Stop Crying. January 8, 2013, WLKY.com. Louisville woman faces charges after police said she repeatedly hit a child she was caring for in the face because the girl wouldn't stop crying. Police said 18-month Scarlett Slaughter attended an in-home daycare run by 50-year-old Tina Timberlake Whitaker. According to a warrant, Timberlake Whitaker became upset because the girl kept crying and hit the girl with an open hand on her face and head on December 21st. Scarlett suffered severe bruising to the face, forehead, and both ears. The warrant said Scarlett's mother, Kimberly Slaughter, took her to Southwest Hospital for treatment when she noticed the injuries after picking the girl up from Timberlake Whitaker's care. The doctor we had come in and said it was a clear handprint bruise, said Slaughter. In turn, the child did suffer severe bruising, was treated at the hospital, said police spokeswoman Carrie Klein. There really are no words, more just, I don't want to say hate, but that's what the feelings are, said Slaughter. Hospital staff contacted police in the crimes against children until responded. On Friday, Timberlake Whitaker was arrested and charged with third-degree criminal abuse. And the warrant stated Timberlake Whitaker admitted to hitting the child in a taped statement to the police. There's nothing that a 1-year-old or a baby or infant, a toddler can do that would ever need to be struck in the face, Klein said. Neighbors said they didn't know too much about the suspect other than she often had small children at her home on Belmar Drive. Nothing really too much out of the ordinary, just a bunch of kids and dogs running around, especially during the summertime, neighbor David Lacer said. Some neighbors were surprised to hear the allegations, but others said the area can be rough. I mean, to hit a 1-year-old is kind of crazy, but I'm not surprised at this neighborhood. Lasser said. Slaughter said she found the daycare on Craigslist, and that's a decision she won't make again. At the time, it was a good price. She said she had done it for so long, said Slaughter. Whitaker was registered with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services as an in-home daycare. Police said Child Protective Services are investigating as well. The incident now has Slaughter looking closer to who keeps her kids. There's no excuse to hit a child. I don't care who it is or how frustrated you are, said Slaughter. Slaughter's 2-year-old son also went to Whitaker's daycare but wasn't hurt. Whitaker's been charged with third-degree criminal abuse and is expected in court next week. She is now out of jail on a $2,500 bond. Police aren't aware of any other victims. There's advocates encourage an end to spanking even at home. The Arizona Daily Star. No hitting should be absolute, says head of new group. January 6, 2013. On AsStarNet.com. George Holden envisions a world without spanking. No more paddling in the principal's office. No more swats on little rear ends, and here's where Holden knows he's staring up at a towering cliff of parental rights resistance. Not even the privacy of the home. When it comes to disciplining a child, Holden's view is absolute. No hitting at all. Not once. No hitting. We don't even like to call it spanking. George Holden, a professor of psychology at Southern Methodist University and head of a newly formed organization aimed at eliminating corporal punishment in the United States. Spanking is a euphemism that makes it sound like hitting is a normal part of parenting. If we relabel it hitting, which is what it is, people step back and ask themselves, should I be hitting my child? For centuries, of course, the answer to that question has been yes. For a huge majority of families, we've been unsparing of the rod. Spanking our children has been spanking our children just as we were spanked by our parents, and there's precious little evidence to suggest we feel much differently today. While the percentage of parents who say it's okay to occasionally spank a child has declined marginally in recent years, that acceptability level still hovers between 65% and 75% nationally. So, occasionally spank a child. Acceptable between 65 to 75% of the population. Surveys that measure actual behavior reveal even higher rates of moms and dads willing to whack. Depending on how you ask the question, most surveys show that between 70% and 90% of parents in this country spank their kids at least once during childhood. In 2013, America, spanking a child is about as common as vaccinating one. But George Holden and a growing number of children's advocates still believe the time is right for a serious effort to end corporal punishment. For some of the burgeoning Stop Hitting movement, the goal is nothing less than a total legal ban on spanking in all settings, as has been passed by 33 nations in Europe, Latin America, and Africa. Soon to be 34 when Brazil becomes the largest country to outlaw spanking in final action expected this year. Nanny state concerns. So far in this country, even limited anti-spanking laws have gone nowhere. A 2008 proposal to make it illegal to spank a child younger than 3 was greeted with howls of nanny state overreach in the California Assembly before being withdrawn. In 2011, a bill targeting some of the more extreme physical discipline measures that had been considered reasonable corporal punishment, hitting with dangerous objects, punched with closed fists, shaking toddlers younger than 3, was hooted down in the Maryland Senate. I had legislators tell me that they had not spared the rod when they were young, and look at them now, said Maryland Senator Jamie B. Raskins, Democrat, the bill's chief sponsor. It's really entrenched in the culture. I do think we need a social movement against violence in the home. And that is just what most of the new paddling prohibitionists have in mind, knowing how Americans would recoil at the idea of Big Brother stepping between the parental palm and the child's bottom. Their goal is to drive spanking out of the culture. They want to tarnish spanking's image as a normal part of American life with a sustained behavior change campaign along the lines of the ones that cut smoking rates in half and made drunken driving a national taboo. My orientation is to educate, 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 said George Holden, who helped found the U.S. Alliance to End the Hitting of Children, endhittingusa.org, after an international conference on eliminating corporal punishment held in Dallas in 2011. It's hard to know if we're at a tipping point, but more and more people are coming to recognize the overwhelming empirical evidence that all lines up against corporal punishment. As in anti-tobacco efforts, anti-corporal punishment activists have started by squeezing spanking from the public sphere, shrinking the number of places where it is acceptable to swat a child. Spanking by daycare providers has been outlawed by every state except for South Carolina and Idaho. So South Carolina and Idaho, where they make their children their hoe. South Carolina, of course, South Carolina. You guys were the first ones to secede, so you Confederates let your daycare providers spank their kids. More than 30 pediatric hospitals in recent months have posted their lobbies the frequent scene of spanks by stressed parents with signs declaring them no hitting zones, no paddle schools, and in public schools, the biggest outside the home spanking venue of all, corporal punishment is well on track to go the way of the chalk blackboard. 31 states in the district have banned corporal punishment outright, the latest being New Mexico in 2011. Of the 19 states that still allow it, Texas and North Carolina recently passed statewide laws allowing parents to put their kids on a no paddle list, and most others have seen corporal punishment banned at the country level by school systems wary of lawsuits that could become increasingly inevitable when a teacher hits a child. According to U.S. Department of Education data, the number of students paddled has drifted down in recent decades, falling from 1.5 million spanked in schools in 1976 to 223,000 in 2006, the last year for which stats have been published. It's really almost gone from the schools, and that's a huge change from just 2 decades ago, said Deborah Sindek, Program Director of the Center for Effective Discipline and National Anti-Corporal Punishment Group. Parents are saying, I don't want someone hitting my child in school. That's a step closer to their saying, I don't want someone hitting my child at home. Even the Catholic Church, with its tradition of ruler-wielding nuns, has steadily eliminated physical punishment in parochial schools. We can't find a single diocese that still uses it, Sindek said. So even the Catholic schools have banned spanking, corporal punishment in schools. And if you don't want it, why don't you want it in schools? Because you don't want your kid hit. Since hitting is wrong, violence is wrong, to be assaulted is wrong. And I was a victim of child abuse. I got attacked over 5,000 times, at least. at least 5,000 times. That's 5,000 assaults, and nobody came up to my defense. Nobody even told me that maybe I deserve better, you know. So just even about having a friend to listen, that's like the very least a person could do. But I wish I had that when I was getting getting pummeled. Just somebody to listen and understand. So yes, I definitely think that the state should have intervened. The state should have intervened and made sure that I wasn't, made sure that maybe it's acceptable, just to kind of hit someone to get their attention, but not like hit somebody to hurt, hit somebody to actually inflict pain, uh, uh, you know, out of hatred, you know, right? So we should stop child abuse. You can raise your kid without hitting them. You don't have to hit your kid. Uh, they want to do right by you. So if you actually develop a relationship with them, they'll just want to do right by you. You don't have to hit your kid.